The long wait is over. Genesis chapter 21 verses 1 to 34, 1 Samuel chapter 2 verses 21 to 28, and Matthew chapter 1 verses 18 to 25. Introduction. How does it feel when the long wait is over? After the incident in Gerar where Abraham and Sarah met King Abimelech, Adonai Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh visited Sarah. The word visited, in Hebrew is pakad, which means to visit with friendly intent. And care for, so Adonai shows his care for Sarah because of his promise to her and Abraham. Finally, after the long wait, the barrenness of Sarah had ended. And she bore Isaac, laughter, and his name is a perpetual reminder of how Adonai Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh works in mysterious way. So his people could laugh at the uncertainty of the promise. Since Adonai is faithful, Abraham also shows his faithfulness to the covenant by circumcising his son Isaac on the 8th day. While Isaac was growing, Abraham made a feast, but Sarah saw Ishmael mocking Isaac. The Hebrew word of mock is sahak, which means play, make sport, and to laugh outright, so maybe that time, Ishmael was playing his little brother, but it was not good in the eyes of Sarah that caused her to tell it to Abraham to cast out Ishmael and Hagar. Cast out in Hebrew is garish, and it means to drive out. The question is, why the story of Ishmael and Hagar's departure included in the long-awaited birth of Isaac? First, Adonai wants his covenant people to be separated. Since Isaac and his descendants are the chosen people, they are considered as unique, separate, and different from all, and includes Ishmael his brother. In Genesis chapter 16, Hagar was about to flee from the sight of Sarah, but the angel of Adonai appeared to her and told her to return and submit to her mistress, and she bore Ishmael. But here in our Torah portion, Adonai said to Abraham to listen to his wife and must let go of Hagar and Ishmael. Surely, there had been a strife, envy, and jealousy in Abraham's family for so many years, so the arrival of Isaac, it will be a different story. The lesson here is Adonai Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh hates syncretism. He wants separation. As a grafted-in believer in the true olive tree, we must also separate ourselves from the pattern of this sinful world. Second, Isaac, the true heir, enters in Genesis chapter 17 verse 19. Adonai said to Abraham, Sarah your wife shall bear you a son, and you shall call his name Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his descendants after him. Here, Adonai Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh intended his covenant to be established with Isaac even before he was born. Also, Apostle Paul in Galatians chapter 4 verse 28 pointed Isaac as the son of promise, and you brethren, like Isaac, are children of promise. Our Torah portion ends with the covenant between Abraham and Abimelech, and why it needs to be included. I believe the king of Gerar had witnessed how Adonai blessed Abraham, so he wanted it as well. Genesis chapter 12 verse 3. Our Haftarah portion also started with Adonai visited Hannah, so that she conceived and bore 3 sons and 2 daughters while Samuel grew up before Adonai. Sadly, the sons Hophni and Phinehas of Eli, who were priests also like their father, had sexual relations with the women serving at the door of the tabernacle. After they sinned, the man of Adonai sent the message to Eli that he was guilty of commending his sons more than Adonai, and that's the reason why in verses 31 to 34, Eli together with his house would be disconnected from Adonai, and in one day his 2 sons will die. Compared to the 2 wicked sons of Eli, Samuel grew in stature, and in favor with Adonai and men, same as Messiah Yeshua in Luke chapter 2 verse 52. And Yeshua increased in wisdom and stature, and in favor with God and men. For the parents out there, our Haftarah reminds us of responsibility to educate their children about the Torah of Adonai. Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 7. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. So, This is the climax of our parasha, the birth of the Messiah. The angel of Adonai appeared to Yosef in a dream to inform him that Miriam was found with child of the Ruach HaKodesh. Also, the angel mentioned that Yosef was David's son, as Adonai kept his promise in raising a king of David's seed whose throne will be forever established. 2 Samuel chapter 7 verse 12. Going back to Isaiah chapter 7 verse 14, the prophet announced the marvelous birth, and the child will be known as Emmanuel, which means God with us. I want to connect this in John chapter 1 verse 14. For Adonai Yod He Vav He, to be with us, the Torah, Yeshua, became flesh so he could dwell and tabernacle with us. The name Yeshua came from the Hebrew verb yasha, which means to save. For he will save his people from their sins. The sovereign God turned into an obtainable man to reach human and show his kindness, mercy, and love. The connection of our parasha is about Adonai's visit to fulfill his promise. In Torah, he visited Sarah as he had spoken, and Sarah conceived a son. In Haftarah, he visited Hannah so that she conceived and bore sons and daughters. In Apostolic, the angel of Adonai visited Yosef in a dream to confirm that his wife Miriam will bear a son, the savior of mankind. Back to my introduction, waiting for something that we want could help us grow in faith and trust in Yeshua. Let us keep on believing, because one day in his perfect time, your long wait will be over. Psalm chapter 31 verse 14, But as for me, I trust in you, O Lord. I say, you are my God. Shabbat Shalom.